There were regular season games this season where Caitlin Clark drew more than 1.8 million viewers. However, I hope Kat Engelbert is ready for disappointment because there's a hell of a lot more of it on the way.
It seems like the WNBA has a target on Caitlin Clark's back, and recent incidents suggest that it's not just about basketball. From on-court bullying to racial allegations, players like DiJonai Carrington, Alyssa Thomas, and Angel Reese have made it clear that Clark isn't entirely welcome. Are these tensions boiling over, and could they push Clark to leave the WNBA altogether? Let's break down the latest drama and explore the speculation that Caitlin Clark might be heading to Europe. Caitlin Clark's rise as one of the WNBA's brightest stars hasn't come without controversy. Ever since she entered the league, the divide between her and many of the league's established players has been undeniable. The tension doesn't seem to stem purely from her play style or dominance on the court. It's starting to get personal. Recent incidents have highlighted just how intense this animosity has become, with some fans and analysts speculating that many WNBA players may want Clark out of the league. Whether it's the constant trash talk, physical play that borders on dirty, or the allegations of racism that have arisen, it's becoming increasingly clear that Clark's presence in the league is stirring up strong emotions. Caitlin Clark and DiJonai Carrington recently found themselves at the center of attention during a highly competitive WNBA playoff game. The matchup between the Indiana Fever and the Connecticut Sun escalated tensions between the two players. Just 90 seconds into the game, Carrington accidentally poked Clark in the eye during a physical play. The result? A black eye for Clark, who later downplayed the incident, stating it wasn't intentional by any means, just watch the play.
On the play with your eye, what would you say to the crowd of people that think a hit like that was intentional?
It wasn't intentional by any means. You just watched the play. It wasn't intentional.
All right, thanks, Caitlin.
Despite Clark's efforts to brush it off, the incident sparked intense social media speculation, with some fans questioning Carrington's intent. Carrington, for her part, strongly denied any malicious intent, saying,
I don't even know why I would intend to hit anybody in the eye. That doesn't even make sense to me, but no, I didn't. I didn't know I hit her, actually. I was trying to make a play on the ball, and I guess I followed through and I hit her, so obviously it's never intentional. That's not even like the type of player that I am. So yeah.
and emphasized that she was simply making a play on the ball. Although both players have tried to move past the incident, it has only added more fuel to their growing rivalry. The timing of the incident was especially unfortunate for Clark, who was making her playoff debut. She struggled throughout the game, shooting just 23.5% from the field, significantly below her regular season average of 41.7%. Meanwhile, Carrington and the Connecticut Sun dominated the Indiana Fever, securing a decisive 93-69 victory. As the rivalry between these two players heats up, fans and the media have continued to dissect their every interaction, heightening the tension surrounding Caitlin Clark's place in the league. Many are left wondering how long Clark will endure the constant scrutiny and physical play before seeking opportunities outside of the WNBA. The tension doesn't end with Carrington. Alyssa Thomas and Caitlin Clark's on-court matchup during another recent playoff game took an even more shocking turn, resulting in serious accusations and a suspension for Thomas. During the game, Thomas was accused of engaging in aggressive behavior toward Clark, with some labeling the incident as a racist assault. Both players were critical to their teams, Clark, the standout rookie, and Thomas, a seasoned veteran, but the game became overshadowed by controversy. After the Fever were eliminated from the playoffs, the focus quickly shifted to Thomas's post-game comments, in which she accused Indiana Fever fans, many of whom are strong supporters of Clark, of hurling racial abuse. Thomas claimed that in her 11-year career, she had never encountered such hostility from fans, particularly noting the racially charged comments aimed at her during the game.
I think in my 11-year career, I've never experienced the racial comments from the Indiana Fever fan base. You know, we come to play basketball for our job and it's fun, but we don't want to go to work every day and have social media blown up over things like that. It's uncalled for, and something needs to be done, whether it's, you know, them checking their fans or this league checking. There's no time for it anymore.
However, Thomas's accusations were met with mixed reactions. Some critics argued that her comments lacked specific examples and seemed like an attempt to deflect attention from her own performance during the game. The debate intensified when the WNBA decided to suspend Thomas for her actions during the matchup. While some praised the league for taking a stand against potentially racially motivated behavior, others contended that the suspension was a hasty reaction influenced by public pressure without substantial evidence. This incident has raised larger questions about the dynamics of race within the WNBA, particularly in how players and fans interact. Some analysts have pointed out that Clark's rapid rise as a prominent white player in a predominantly black league has heightened tensions, fueling these racially charged exchanges. The controversy has ignited ongoing discussions about whether race is influencing not only player relationships, but also how fans and media perceive interactions on the court. In the midst of all this, Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark's long-standing rivalry continues to captivate basketball fans. Their fiery matchups date back to their collegiate days and have followed them into the WNBA, with each new encounter adding more fuel to the fire. While both players have publicly downplayed any personal animosity, recent incidents have kept the spotlight firmly on them. On September 5, 2024, Angel Reese addressed the rumored feud with Caitlin Clark during the inaugural episode of her podcast, Unapologetically Angel. Reese was quick to clear the air, stating that there is no real animosity between her and Clark, despite how their intense on-court battles might look.
Whenever you think of Angel Reese, people often mention Caitlin Clark. You've said in interviews, there's no beef, but the media keeps going on. So how do you feel about that situation?
Caitlin is an amazing player, and I've always thought she was an amazing player. We've been playing each other since high school. So I think it's really just the fans, her fans, the Iowa fans, now the Indiana fans that are like, they ride for her. And I respect that respectfully, but sometimes it's very disrespectful. I think there's a lot of racism when it comes to it, and I don't believe she stands on any of that.
She reflected on their shared history, dating back to high school, and emphasized that much of the rivalry narrative is driven by fans and the media. However, Reese did admit that the attention has sometimes crossed a line, revealing that she has received racist comments and even death threats. Basketball is just a game, she explained, but when it escalates to death threats or people stalking me to my home, that's crossing a serious line.
But when it comes to death threats, like I'm talking about people have come down to my address, follow me home. Like it's come down to that. Multiple occasions, people have made AI pictures of me like naked, literally.
Really?
They have sent it to my family members. My family members are like, uncles are sending it to me like,
no.
Are you naked on Instagram? It sucks to see that, and it's really hard that I have to go through that, and now seeing other players even having to go through that.
Their rivalry was reignited during the 2024 NCAA Tournament's Elite Eight, when Clark's Iowa team defeated Reese's LSU squad. Fans couldn't ignore the narrative surrounding their rematch, especially after Reese had famously gestured, "You can't see me," to mock Clark during the 2023 NCAA championship game. Though the two players kept things professional during their rematch, the media and fans remained fixated on their every move. Fast forward to June 2024, when tensions flared once again during a WNBA game between Clark's Indiana Fever and Reese's Chicago Sky. After a foul against Clark, Reese was seen clapping in response, a small gesture that reignited conversations about their rivalry. Though both players have downplayed the significance of the moment, it became yet another viral talking point in the media, proving that even the smallest actions between these two can spark major reactions. Despite the ongoing speculation about their rivalry, both Reese and Clark have been vocal about their respect for each other. Reese has pointed out that much of the tension is exaggerated by fans and media, and she emphasized that while competition can lead to heated moments, it should never escalate to the harmful behavior she's experienced. Reese acknowledged the racial undertones in some of the criticisms she receives, but remains focused on the game, not the drama. "I respect Caitlin as a player, but some fans take things too far," Reese said, addressing the toxic elements that have come with their rivalry. Clark, for her part, has also expressed admiration for Reese's talent, and both players have hinted at a future where they might play together, possibly for Team USA.
At the end of the day, it's a game that we do both love, but there is no hate. no hate. We're gonna play on the same team one day, I'm sure. Like, we're gonna definitely play on the same team one day, so.
Their rivalry, while competitive, has undoubtedly brought more attention to women's basketball, drawing in new fans and sparking important discussions about the sport's growth. Adding to the speculation surrounding Clark's future in the WNBA are growing rumors that she might leave the league for Europe. After her difficult rookie season with the Indiana Fever, many believe that Clark could explore opportunities overseas, where conditions might be more favorable for her. Clark has been open about her frustration with the WNBA, particularly regarding the league's physicality and officiating. Her style of play, which relies heavily on finesse and shooting, often clashes with the physical nature of the WNBA. And this dissatisfaction has led to rumors that Clark could be seeking a fresh start in Europe. European leagues, which emphasize fluid, high IQ basketball, might provide a more comfortable environment for Clark to thrive. The added financial benefits of playing in Spain, Italy, or France would only sweeten the deal. Racial tensions within the WNBA have also played a part in fueling these rumors. Clark has faced increased scrutiny, and some analysts speculate that these tensions could influence her decision to leave. For a player of Clark's caliber, a move to Europe would not only offer more favorable playing conditions, but also a fresh start away from the challenges she faces in the WNBA. Rumors have even surfaced that Clark could join the new, unrivaled league, backed by Breanna Stewart, which aims to create a fresh platform for women's basketball. However, despite the swirling rumors, Clark has publicly stated that she won't be heading overseas during the WNBA offseason. In exit interviews following her team's playoff run, she confirmed that she plans to take a break from basketball and focus on some much-needed personal time. She humorously mentioned golf as a possible off-season activity, dismissing any immediate plans to play in Europe or elsewhere. While the possibility of playing overseas may not be on her radar just yet, her frustrations with the WNBA and the speculation surrounding her future make it clear that her next moves will be closely watched. If Clark were to leave the WNBA, it would have significant implications for the league. As one of the WNBA's most marketable players, her departure would be a major blow, potentially leading to a decline in viewership and interest. Analysts warn that unless the WNBA addresses the concerns of its top talent, whether it's issues with officiating, the league's physicality, or racial tensions, it risks losing more players to overseas leagues where conditions might be more favorable. Clark's situation is a reminder that the WNBA must continue to evolve if it hopes to retain its brightest stars. Caitlin Clark is at a crossroads. With players like DiJonai Carrington, Alyssa Thomas, and Angel Reese seemingly out to break her, could this be the final straw that drives her away from the WNBA? The pressure is mounting, and the speculation about her potential departure to Europe is only growing louder. Will Clark stay and fight, or will she seek greener pastures overseas? Stay tuned, because whatever happens next, it's going to shake the WNBA to its core.
It's going to be nice, though. I think getting out of the spotlight and just getting to live my life and do things that I want to do, and not have to sit. And I love talking to all of you, but it's going to be nice to not have to sit in front of a microphone, multiple times a week. I really appreciate all of you, but it will be nice to kind of get away and relax for a little bit. And I appreciate everything you all do as well, so I thank you.
You got me down again.
Caitlin Clark's potential departure from the WNBA to play in Europe has shocked fans and analysts alike. While her frustration with the league's physicality and officiating has been well documented, a deeper factor may be at play: the rising racial tensions within the league, specifically tied to Alyssa Thomas's recent accusations. Could this racial controversy be the final push for Clark to explore opportunities overseas? Clark's rookie season was undeniably electric, with her breaking records, lifting the Indiana Fever out of irrelevance, and propelling the WNBA into the spotlight. However, this meteoric rise came at a cost. From facing brutal physical defense to controversial no-calls, like DiJonai Carrington's infamous eye poke, Clark has felt unprotected by the league's officiating. "I feel like I'm getting hammered, and opponents get away with things that other players don't," she said in an interview after the Fever's heartbreaking playoff exit.
Yeah, I think just being competitive is who I am. It's what I've done my whole career. I think at times there's ways I can probably channel it a little bit better, but that's just basketball at the end of the day. That's never gonna change. I'm never gonna lose that. I feel like I'm getting hammered. I don't know. I appreciate Christy getting the tech too.
While the physical toll alone was draining, it's becoming evident that the environment in the WNBA, beyond the court, has been a growing source of frustration for Clark. And nothing exemplifies this more than the recent racial controversy stirred by Alyssa Thomas. After the Fever's playoff elimination, Alyssa Thomas took the stage not to discuss her team's win, but to accuse Caitlin Clark's fan base of racism. Thomas claimed that in her 11-year career, she had never experienced such vitriol, implying that Clark's sudden rise to stardom is somehow tied to racial bias.
Honestly, it's been a lot of nonsense. I think in my 11-year career, I've never experienced the racial comments from the Indiana Fever fan base. We had her face on a serious matter that happened in this world, and it's unacceptable, honestly. And there's no place for it. And
Thomas stated, indirectly linking Clark's popularity to her predominantly white fan base. This wasn't just a comment on trolls or online hate. It was an accusation that essentially targeted the league's new fan base, many of whom had started watching because of Clark's presence. Thomas painted a picture that Clark's success and the attention she received were products of race rather than talent. For Clark, this must have felt like the ultimate slap in the face. After working tirelessly to prove herself on the court, she now found herself at the center of a racial debate she never asked for. It's not difficult to see how this racial narrative, combined with the physical play she's endured, may have been the final straw for Clark. While she's been the face of the WNBA's growth, she's also become its most controversial figure, largely due to factors beyond her control. From Alyssa Thomas's public accusations to other players using racial tensions to stir controversy, Clark is caught in a political and racial firestorm that could be pushing her to leave the league altogether. In her press conference, Clark didn't directly address the racial allegations, but she made it clear she's had enough. "I need a reset. I need to get away from all of this," she said. Many speculate that this reset could involve a move to Europe, where she could focus on her game without the external pressures that have consumed her WNBA experience.
Basketball was something I absolutely loved to do, but there was a lot of other things I had to have done in my life, whether it was school, whether it was emptying the dishwasher or taking out the trash. I had chores, it stunk. I think it'll definitely be a little bit of an adjustment period for myself, not really, having to do that so much. I woke up yesterday and I'm I don't know what I'm gonna really do. So it's gonna be nice though. I think getting out of the spotlight and just getting to live my life and do things that I wanna do and, not have to sit and I love talking to all of you, but it's gonna be nice to not have to sit in front of a microphone.
Europe could offer Clark the chance to play in a league with a different focus and potentially a more balanced environment, free from the racial tensions that have started to define her WNBA journey. Clark's possible move to Europe isn't just a personal decision, it's a potential disaster for the WNBA. Since joining the league, Clark has transformed the Fever into a money-making machine. Attendance for Indiana games skyrocketed by 400%, ticket sales surged by 60%, and her jersey became the top seller in league history. Her games drew millions of viewers, eclipsing even matchups featuring other WNBA stars like Breanna Stewart and Angel Reese. Clark wasn't just a player, she was the league's main attraction. Losing her would be a financial and public relations nightmare for the WNBA. With Clark considering an exit, the league is staring down the barrel of losing its biggest draw and, potentially, its new fan base. But beyond the economic impact, Clark's departure would expose the deep issues that have been festering within the WNBA. Race, politics, and the struggle for equality within a league that has long prided itself on inclusivity. Clark leaving the WNBA would be a signal that the league isn't ready to protect and nurture its top talent. It could also set a dangerous precedent for other players who feel unsupported or unfairly targeted. If the WNBA can't resolve the tension brewing within its ranks, more players may begin to look elsewhere. But for now, all eyes are on Clark. Will she pack her bags and head to Europe? If she does, it won't just be a career shift. It will be a turning point for the WNBA. What do you think? Is Caitlin Clark justified in considering a move to Europe? Let me know in the comments below.
We're not watching anymore now that Caitlin is eliminated. Hilarious. See you next season. We ain't watching anymore.
It's time for Caitlin Clark to leave the WNBA. And honestly, it would be the best decision she could make for her career. From constant bullying and harassment to the physical play that clashes with her style, the WNBA is not the right environment for a generational talent like Clark. Europe offers her better opportunities, more money, a basketball culture that values finesse over brute force, and a fresh start away from the toxic dynamics she's facing here. Let's break down why Caitlin Clark should make the leap to Europe and how it would be the best move for her career. Caitlin Clark has quickly become one of the most exciting players to watch in the WNBA, but her experience in the league so far has been anything but smooth. It's clear that she's facing a hostile environment, one that includes constant trash talk, dirty play, and even racial undertones that complicate her interactions on and off the court. Despite her talent and star power, the WNBA has not provided Clark the space to thrive. In fact, the league's physicality and aggressive style of play are holding her back. Let's be real. Caitlin Clark should seriously consider leaving the WNBA and making the move to Europe. Here's why it would be a smart choice for her. First, let's talk about money. The reality is the WNBA just doesn't pay its players enough compared to what top talent can earn in Europe. European leagues, especially in countries like Spain, Italy, and France, offer lucrative contracts that far exceed what the WNBA can provide. Players like Gabby Williams have already left the league to secure better financial opportunities overseas, and Clark could do the same. With her star power and skill set, European teams would be lining up to sign her. And why not? She's one of the most marketable players in the game right now, and her ability to shoot from deep and control the tempo would fit perfectly in Europe's more fluid style of basketball. But it's not just about the money, it's about the environment too. Let's face it, the WNBA's physical style of play isn't doing Caitlin Clark any favors. Clark thrives on precision shooting, high IQ basketball, and playing with finesse, but the WNBA's brand of physicality is taking a toll on her. Look at what happened during her playoff debut this year. Just 90 seconds into the game, she was accidentally poked in the eye by DiJonai Carrington, leaving her with a black eye and rattling her confidence early on. While Clark downplayed the incident, saying it wasn't intentional, it fueled speculation on social media and added to the growing narrative that players in the league are going out of their way to target her. And this wasn't an isolated event. Clark has faced physical play all season, and it's clear that the WNBA's officials are letting things slide. She struggled to find her rhythm in that same playoff game, shooting just 23.5% from the field, well below her usual standards. Compare this to European leagues, where the game emphasizes spacing, shooting, and ball movement over brute strength. In Europe, Clark could flourish in a system that suits her strengths and plays to her style, rather than being bogged down by constant physical battles. The bullying and harassment she's been subjected to in the WNBA are another major reason she should consider leaving. From trash talk to racial accusations, Clark has found herself at the center of controversy from day one. Take Alyssa Thomas, for example. Their heated playoff matchup escalated to the point where Thomas was suspended after being accused of targeting Clark with aggressive behavior that some labeled a racist assault. Then after the game, Thomas went on to accuse Clark's supporters of hurling racial abuse at her.
I think in my 11-year career, I've never experienced the racial comments from the Indiana Fever fan base.
While the truth behind those accusations is still up for debate, the fact remains that Clark is constantly embroiled in unnecessary drama in the WNBA. These racial tensions have only added another layer to the hostile environment she's navigating in the league. Some analysts have pointed out that as a white player in a predominantly black league, Clark is facing scrutiny and challenges that go beyond the usual competitive tension. The constant drama, the racial accusations, and the media narrative surrounding her have created a toxic environment that can only hurt her long-term development.
What I am upset about is like, hey man, your meal ticket is under constant attack. There's been dirty plays all season.
Why should she stay in a league where she's being vilified, harassed, and targeted when she could thrive somewhere else? In Europe, Clark could escape this hostile atmosphere and find a more welcoming basketball community. Not only would she avoid the constant physicality that's wearing her down in the WNBA, but she'd also be free from the off-court drama that has followed her from college to the pros. The European basketball culture is far less toxic, and players are treated with a level of respect that she hasn't experienced here. Moving to Europe would give Clark the fresh start she deserves, allowing her to focus solely on basketball and leave behind the harassment she's endured. Another reason to consider Europe is the potential to build her legacy on a global stage. Sure, the WNBA is growing, but European basketball is on the rise, and it offers a platform for players to become international stars. By playing in leagues across Spain, Italy, or France, Clark could enhance her brand, earn more money, and elevate her status in ways that aren't fully available in the WNBA. She would also have the chance to dominate leagues where her style of play is not just accepted, but celebrated. In fact, there are rumors circulating that Clark could even join the newly formed Unrivaled League, backed by Breanna Stewart. This league aims to provide a fresh platform for women's basketball, free from the issues currently plaguing the WNBA. If Clark wants to be part of something bigger, this could be the perfect opportunity for her to not only play in a more suitable environment, but also be at the forefront of a movement that could revolutionize women's basketball globally. Lastly, let's address Clark's recent comments. Despite all the speculation, she's made it clear that she's not planning to go overseas, at least not this offseason. In her exit interviews after the playoffs, she joked about taking up golf during the offseason, suggesting that she's more focused on rest than basketball right now. But even though she's not making the move immediately, it's hard to ignore the writing on the wall. The WNBA is failing to support its top talent, and Clark deserves better. The WNBA is simply not doing enough to protect or elevate Caitlin Clark. From poor officiating to a toxic environment filled with racial tension and physical bullying, Clark is being wasted in a league that's not set up for her success. Europe offers a better financial package, a style of play that fits her strengths, and an escape from the constant harassment she faces in the WNBA. It's only a matter of time before Clark realizes that the WNBA isn't the right fit. And when she does, Europe will be waiting with open arms. Caitlin Clark has a decision to make. Will she continue to endure the constant bullying, physical play, and racial drama in the WNBA? Or will she choose to take control of her career and head to Europe, where she could thrive both on and off the court? The longer this drama plays out, the more obvious the answer becomes. Stay tuned, because if Clark decides to leave, it's going to shake up the world of basketball in ways we've never seen.
This is a new beginning, it's a new start, and I think it's great for our franchise, it's great for our fans, and we're excited to see who can join us and help us as we continue to move forward and continue to be a great standard in the WNBA.
The Indiana Fever are at a crossroads. Kelly Koff has returned. Caitlin Clark is lighting up the league, but coaching struggles and looming free agency decisions have cast a shadow over their future. Will the Fever build a championship caliber team around Clark, or will they crumble under the pressure? Stick around as we dive into the key factors shaping the Fever's future and the challenges they must overcome. The Fever's decision to bring back Kelly Koff to run the franchise signals a new chapter for the team. But for those familiar with the Fever's history, Koff is not just any executive. She was at the helm during their most successful years. Under Koff's leadership, the Fever reached the WNBA Finals multiple times, cementing themselves as one of the top franchises in the league. Now with the team struggling to find consistency, despite having a star like Caitlin Clark, Koff's return couldn't have come at a better time. Fans and analysts alike see her return as a turning point. She's known for making bold moves, and with her experience, there's hope that Koff will breathe new life into a team that's been underperforming. But there's no doubt, the pressure is on. The Fever's recent struggles have put them near the bottom of the standings, and many wonder if even Koff's expertise will be enough to rebuild the franchise. Will she be able to replicate her past success, Or is the situation too far gone? It's impossible to talk about the Indiana Fever without mentioning Caitlin Clark. Since being drafted, Clark has quickly established herself as one of the league's most electrifying players. Her deep three-pointers, sharp court vision, and ability to make impossible plays have captured the attention of fans across the league. Clark has single-handedly brought the Fever into the spotlight, drawing in record-breaking attendance numbers and skyrocketing media attention. Clark isn't just a great player, she's a cultural phenomenon. Fans are showing up in droves, and the Fever are starting to see a fan base that hasn't been this engaged in years. It's not just about what Clark does on the court, it's her presence off the court that's been a game changer for the Fever. Merchandise sales are up, media interviews are flooding in, and suddenly a team that was once an afterthought is now the center of attention. But as impressive as Clark has been, the Fever's struggles raise concerns. Despite her star power, the team is still far from competing for a championship. This leads us to the next major issue, coaching. No discussion about the Fever's season would be complete without addressing the elephant in the room, head coach Christy Sides. While Sides was expected to bring a fresh perspective to the team, her tenure has been plagued by defensive struggles and questionable rotation management. Critics argue that Sides has failed to adjust her defensive strategies to match the talent on the roster, and as a result, the Fever have often been outplayed on that end of the floor. The lack of defensive intensity has been one of the team's biggest weaknesses, and much of that blame has fallen on Sides. There are growing concerns about whether she's the right coach to lead this team, especially with a generational talent like Caitlin Clark on the roster. Clark has been forced to carry a heavy load on both ends of the floor, often overworked in games where she should be getting more support from her teammates. Sides' inability to manage rotations effectively has further raised questions about her future. Players like Kelsey Mitchell, who should be taking pressure off Clark, have been inconsistent in their minutes and roles. If Sides can't figure out a way to balance the workload and improve the team's defensive schemes, her future with the Fever could be in jeopardy. With Clark's immediate impact, the Fever are feeling the pressure to build a competitive team around her, and fast. It's clear that Clark has the potential to lead this team to a championship, but she can't do it alone. The Fever's front office, now led by Kelly Koff, has its work cut out for them. The current roster needs major improvements, especially on the defensive end, if the team is going to contend for a title. The focus is not just on finding talent, but on building a roster that maximizes Clark's strengths. She's a dynamic scorer and playmaker, but without the right pieces around her, the Fever will continue to struggle. The team's defensive shortcomings have been well documented, and finding players who can step up on that end will be crucial. But it's not just about defense. The Fever need players who can take the load off Clark offensively as well. There's a growing sense that time is ticking. Clark is a franchise-altering player, and the Fever can't afford to waste her prime years. The pressure is on the front office to make the right moves, whether that's through trades, free agency, or the draft. If they don't, they risk losing the momentum Clark has brought to the franchise. One of the biggest challenges facing the Fever is the uncertainty around key players like Kelsey Mitchell. Mitchell has been a vital part of the team's offense, but she's approaching free agency, and there are questions about whether the Fever can retain her. Losing Mitchell would be a significant blow, especially given the need to build a competitive roster around Clark. But it's not just Mitchell. The Fever's future hinges on whether they can develop a balanced roster that complements Clark's skill set. Players like Aaliyah Boston and Alyssa Smith have shown flashes of potential, but consistency has been an issue. The team needs to figure out which pieces will be part of their long-term plans and which ones need to be replaced. As Mitchell's free agency approaches, the Fever are facing a critical offseason. Can they convince her to stay? Or will the team be forced to rebuild around Clark without one of their top offensive weapons? It's a decision that could have lasting consequences for the franchise. The future of the Indiana Fever is hanging in the balance. Will Kelly Koff's return be enough to turn things around? Can the team build a championship roster around Caitlin Clark? The answers to these questions could make or break the Fever's chances of rising to the top of the WNBA. Only time will tell if this is the beginning of a new era for the Fever, or just another missed opportunity.